Hello everybody. So we will continue to finish rigging this car. Now we finished the front hose rig there. We're gonna do exactly same technique with the rest of them on the hose here. So let me enable normal layers. Okay, I'm gonna do just one by one. That's easier. So I'm gonna remove this from layer, and then now I can template or hide it, and actually car mask layer. This will go in there too. Hide it. So for the controller, we will put the controller in different layers so that easy to hide, show, and select. First of all, I'm gonna create a new layers, and I'm gonna call red car rig stuff. Layer, so that I can contain all the rigging part in there. Let me turn off, and I think I should use the, no, I can't. Here we go. And so now I can turn on and off. Okay. And what is the Tim layers? I think my Tim layer, I'm gonna delete it so that I can understand what each layer are and I don't get confused. So I'm gonna turn off a texture and select edge loop. I'm gonna press 4 to go to wireframe. There we go. Deform cluster. Let me switch to rigging module. And this one I will have to go with this. Now I can't double click the loop because there's a triangle. It stopped continuity. So press G, here we go. And how about this one? G is repeat the last command. G. And by the way, if you are on wireframe mode, you have to make sure that you right click on the line in order to access the right click selected object or component. And but if you are on shade, you can right click anywhere on the shade. Doesn't have to be on the line. So that's the difference. Okay. And G. This step is just to create a cluster to use as a snapping location for the joints that we will be create. Here we go. So now I can hide polygons temporarily. Here we go. And this cluster, we're gonna delete them later. We don't need it. Now, if you remember, let me bring it back quick. We're gonna put. Here we go. These will be the base of the joint. So that joint, the placement of this joint will be the first joint as a highest hierarchy, and then coming down to there. The reason is because we wanted to parent the root to the controller of the left engine. So when we rotate, that root will follow the orientation. Basically, it will move the position based on the angle of rotation on the controller, and this will try to stay put. It will move eventually, so you will not animate it rotation before it moves. So you will see. So let me turn that off again, and I'm gonna turn off the polygons. I'm gonna double click on joints. The setting, we're gonna use a default setting. Ouch, here we go. So because we just wanted to have orientation based on the X and Y. Okay, so what it does is the pointing X will toward to the lowest joint. Y will be the up position. Okay, so I'm gonna hold V key. If you know, this is when I hold V key, this toggle on right here. Okay, so when I release the V key, it's toggle off, on and off. Alright, so I'm gonna hold the V. I mean, you can enable this button, but you will have to turn off after you finish. So I prefer to use shortcut, and I'm gonna just keep clicking to add joints. Here we go. Execute it, press enter. Now the cluster we are done, we can remove it. There we go. And I'm gonna use outliner to select all joints. I'm gonna hold shift, click on the expand button, will expand all hierarchy underneath it. Select and hold shift, select everything in between. We're gonna name, this is left engine, so we're gonna put L, RD, red car, just red, okay, and let's call it jet shortcut, it's shorter name, jet in JNT. Here we go. So this will be the name that we will use for this rig, this set of rig. So I highlight and copy it, that's all. And now I'm gonna create a spline IK. So go to skeleton menu, create IK spline handle, open up option. We want highest number of span, so that we had a little more CV to a little more the control vertex curve to use, and do not parent the curve. The reason is, if we parent the curve to the joint, which is this joint, the curve will be controlled by cluster. So cluster will have to parent to some other higher hierarchy than this joint, and that will duplicate the transformation on the curve, because curve already driven by CV, by the cluster, and plus curve will be driven by the joint, the root joint. So will be double transform, and basically when you move one unit, the curve will multiply into 2 units. So turn that off, and simplify curve, you can just leave it on. It just try to reduce the division based on the threshold or the smoothness of the curve. And I'm gonna close, click on the root, and then end at the end joint. You will get the new handle. So IK handle, you will have curve 1. I'm gonna have to add name IKHD handle, and then also the curve, I'm gonna put IK curve, so that we know is belong to that left engine IK spline. Okay. Now I should reduce the size of a radius of the joints. How about just 0.1? And if I show polygon, that's about right. It's underneath. So I'm gonna hide polygon temporarily again. And I also gonna hide joints IK handle temporary. Okay. It's because I wanted to work on curve. Select the curve, right click, choose control vertex. So now we got about 7 point. So I think this is what I'm gonna do. The first two, put cluster on, and then this one, I mean you can do one cluster here too. How about doing that? Because just save time. And here we go, and I'm gonna press G, repeat, here we go, right click, 3G. Now this is the things, when we don't have, this is the center, it would be nice if these can be blended to left and right, to the beginning and end. We could actually use constraint to constrain two sides, and it will use the weight 50 and 50 when it pulled by this side and the other side. Last one we did though, we didn't do that on the last lecture, because that time I wanted to optimize the speed of the lecture. I mean, in theory, you should do like the second process that I just mentioned, because it's give better look on the, not better look, but better motion or better stretch among those points. I mean, if you have 8 points, that would not have any problem, because you can divide 4 points on one side, another 4 point on the other side. Anyway, so that's just a concept. So I'm gonna add cluster anyway, and I'll show it to you. But the last one I'm gonna do on the bottom of the hose, I will not do this technique. Okay, I just want to show you the option that you can do. You don't have to, but you could. So now we're gonna have to rename this cluster. So I can just add the label of the left engine. Here we go. Excuse it. And now I'm gonna show joint and IK. I'm gonna pick the IK. I'm gonna add inside the rigging stuff. Just hide it. And now I want join to show, because I'm gonna create a locator. It's under create locator. Shortcut is right here. Okay. And I'm gonna turn on move to, hold V key and snap that to the join. I'm gonna rename this one will be, you can call base locator or locator 1. I mean base mean the beginning. Okay, how about that? And I'm gonna duplicate this, hold V key and move that to snap to this area, and I'm gonna call end. Okay, Name it just the name. You can name anything you want, as long as you understand what they are. Feast transform. Select both. It need to be clean. So now I'm gonna select that CV, not CV, cluster, parent it underneath here. So press P. Mayabu said we need to add a group node to preserve transformation, preserve the position. Basically, we just said yes. Now the group node, though, you don't have to change, but theory you should, because it's good practice. I mean, in terms of pivot point, I can press D and I'm gonna hold V key and then snap to the joint. So that would be the pivot point of the group node that above that a parent of this cluster. Now we get to name it. So here we go. The name the group node. I'm basically gonna copy that name and add GP so that I know that group node is a parent of that cluster. So now see this cluster. Actually, you don't need to see the joint right now. We can hide it and shift select the locator, the N, press P, do the same process again, change the pivot point of the group node, snap it to the end of the locator. Sorry, that would be fine too. Press D to disable the edit pivot mode. I'm gonna rename from here on the channel box. Now, when you look at its name correctly, okay. So at this point, if I move this locator, can you see it's go? I move this, the curve deform. Let's look at on the joint so that you can see how joint deform. Okay, and at one point it's gonna slide those off of the location. So just don't animate that. These are slide too far, that's all. It's just a little something that we need to work around. Now, how can, if I parent this to there, let me try. Here we go. I'm gonna change pivot point. Now, my pivot point, I'm gonna leave it, this one I'm gonna leave it right around here. So actually I can do a hold V key, oh no, press D, hold V, and right there. I mean, there's a reason, because I just want the pivot point to be in at the middle. I don't want the pivot point to be right there, and the effect of the motion will be slightly different. So because I wanted to distribute equal left and right. So now, right now I parent it to here, so it will just move right there. There's no holding on this side. That's exactly like what we did with the font one. Okay, now this time though I'm gonna do a little bit different. Let me rename this. Let's do one GP. Here we go. And oh, this one doesn't have a number 2 on it. I got to name correctly. Okay, so now I'm gonna move this group node off, and when we do parenting, Maya will add the group node. Now if we don't do parenting, when we do constraint, you have to add the group node before that. So let's pretend, how about this, I wanted to pretend that I don't have a group node. Shift P, okay, delete that group node. For this technique, you need to group it to itself, press D, change the pivot point. There we go. And then press D. Okay. Now I'm gonna rename this to 1GP again. Okay, so basically it's same as the state after we unparent the parent. So now this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna select this locator as a parent constraint, and then I'm gonna control click on that group. I am not select the cluster. I select the group that above the cluster. Constraint parent, because we wanted to move and rotate at the same time. No need for scale. And maintain offset, click add. Okay, now we do it one more. I'm gonna select the other side, control click there, constraint again, control click that group node on the cluster number 1, the middle one, and then parent constraint also same setting. So now if you look at on the group node, when you select, can you see you have constraint a base locator and end locator right now set to 1 to 1, so it means they each will pull 50%. So now when I do this, can you see is stay in the middle between this side and that side, and not, so it means it doesn't give only one favor to this locator. Same thing here. Here we go. That's what we want. So now I'm going to move this back. Here we go. So now they distribute equally. It make it looks better. It doesn't look stretch only one side or rigid on one side. So now I'm gonna bring back all the polygon. I'm gonna put this polygon, skin it. So select all 3 shape here, and then shift select the root of the joint, and then you can go to skin, bind skin, open up option, just in case. Do not allow multiple bind poses. I don't like that. I explained it to you in the last video. And leave maximum inference only 3. You don't need to go higher. I mean, you could, but sometimes it might left out some undesired based on the closest joint. So that in the future you can experiment with that. So for now, let's make it simple and just bind it. Everything else leave as is. So now when you select the skin, select the surface, can you see we'll have skin cluster 3, skin cluster 2, skin cluster 1, but each surface will have only one skin cluster, not double skin. So now when I grab this, move the surface, deform it. Here we go. So now I'm gonna bring back the car. Okay. So now let me, here we go. Now the left engine, that's, I'm gonna select this one, expand because it's under the main controller, so right there. So that's the group engine. We're gonna create a controller for that group engine. So I'm gonna use, this is the left side, so I'm gonna use L, move it away, rotate 90 degree, oops, I pressed S by accident, sorry. Rotate 90 degree, S again. There we go. 90 degree minus on Y axis. And where should we put? Well, let me go to the side view. Here we go. Basically, we want the center on the center of the engine that we wanted to animate it. So I would put it right around the center of this mesh. Let's press F, and 4 is hard to see. Gonna 5 and turn on wireframe on shade. It's right around there, right there. You can actually do this way. You select the controller first and shift select that mesh and use align to under modify, align, and we're gonna align to the center of that mesh, sorry, and it went inside. Here we go. And then I'm gonna press Q to switch to selection and toggle, alt click, disable, deselect that shape on the engine and move this out because the center is already there. So I move it out and it looked like this. I'm gonna scale it a little bit so that easy to see. Here we go. It's outward. Let me move it out a little more. Okay. Now I forgot one thing though. When I do this, my pivot point is right here. See, I want it to be the center of that mesh. So let me undo back quick until it's in there, right there. Now, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do Control 1. Control 1 is, you can do any view. I'm gonna do top view at this time. It's actually this, show isolate selection, view selected only, Control 1. So, I'm gonna use shortcut, Control 1. Right click, choose Control Vertex, and I'm gonna grab all of these vertices and move it out. And look at on the other view, see where it's go. Here we go. And then I'm gonna scale uniformly. That's it. I think I'm gonna flatten a little bit. Here we go. So that's big enough. And now go to object mode. So here we go. So now you can see the pivot point is right on the center of this mesh. Here we go. And the length is a little too far. You could grab that. I mean, you don't have to. Here we go. Okay. So I'm gonna freeze this transformation. Freeze. And I'm gonna name LGD Jet CTL, but we don't need a curve. Now, on the right side, if you don't care about the alphabet, you could actually duplicate this, Control D, and group it to itself, Control G, and then on the group -1 on the X, it will reverse to the side. Now you edit ungroup and then freeze transform. So if you use the controller that doesn't have alphabet like mine, you should do it this way because you don't have to do twice. But I am not doing it because I wanted to use the alphabet R. So, and now where this controller go, it has to follow the main control here. So it means it would be better to put this underneath this group node that controls all the element of the car itself. So I'm gonna select that and Control click, use outliner on the all red car part GP, and just press P. P is parenting. It's a shortcut under here. P. Okay, parenting. So now it's went inside there. You can see it here. And make sure you freeze transform before you do that. Okay. And this object basically will rotate only x-axis on this. So it means everything else will be locked selected, and then later on we can hide it when we finish this rig. So I'm gonna leave it there first so that we can't move, and we can rotate only one direction. So now we're gonna parent, let me hide the car, put this locator to be a child of the controller. So I'm gonna press P, here we go, parenting. So to be a child, we are not going to animate this locator at all. We're gonna just animate this one. So now when I do rotate, see, it does this. So we accomplish on that. And now what about this locator? We gonna create, let me bring back the rig stuff layers. Do you remember? We create a locator. Let me show all. Oh, because these are under car mesh, so it was hidden also. Okay, so let me template that so that you can see the locator. Where's my locator? Don't tell me I delete them. One moment. Where's my join there? Where are they? Oh no, did I delete them? Oh, sorry guys, I'm back. The problem is the display problem is still in there. I couldn't find it at first, but it's in there. So here we go. So the font, oops, wrong control. Here we go. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna, let's get back to what I was talking about, this control. So we're gonna create extra controller, not controller, the extra parent. So I'm gonna just use the locator, and I'm gonna move the locator right around here. Let's hold X key and snap it. Let me show the car, see where does it go. Right there. I think that location is fine. You can move a little more actually. How about there? Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna hide the car layers, and I'm gonna name what did I name on the front one? All host locator. How about this one? Will add all front host FRNT, all front host. Okay, and I should copy that name. This will be all back host, all BK host. There we go, back. Okay, and where the back locator host go? Let's go underneath the group node of parts again, basically. So I'm gonna select that locator, the new locator. Gotta freeze it first, freeze transform, and then I'm gonna use outliner to select the all red car part GP, and then press P, parenting. So now it's underneath there, and we are not going to animate this at all because it's gonna just follow. So now This locator will be a child of that all back host locator. Press P. Here we go. So now if we move the car, everything follow. So once again, this curve, let me show you the see that back curve of the IK are not belong to any group, but it moved with the car. That because it's controlled by CV here. No, not CV, a cluster. And cluster already underneath of these two. So it will follow. If you somehow, when you do on your own rigging, you move the controller and then the surface of the host started to go faster, like double step. So it means you are putting this curve inside somewhere. Got to de-parent it. So unparent them, that's all. Okay. So now the last host, which is the bottom one, right there. So I'm gonna enable normal layers on the car mesh, pick this, and then pick that the bottom host and remove selected object. But then I'm gonna hide it again. Then I want to put this back so that I don't see it. These three object. So now it's gone. So at the meantime, I'm gonna turn off car rig stuff also, and then grab one of this, all of this, not just one. Add into that layers. Here we go. Add. Okay. So I can bring it up. I can bring it back by enable this. Okay. So now we do the same thing again. We're gonna use cluster to create a placement for joint. So I'm gonna switch to full wireframe mode. Right click, edge, double click on the loop. Let me select selection tool instead. And then deform cluster. Right click, edge. This one I'm gonna start it right here. Press G now. Press G. And this one you may have to double click and shift to select all around it because there's triangle there that is stop. I mean, you can remove that triangle if you like. Okay. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to alter the model shape. Just take a little more step to double click, that's all. G, double click, G, and last one, I'm gonna skip that one. G, here we go. Now I can hide polygon temporarily, and the base has to be on the side of let me show it again, on the side of the engine shape. That will be the base of the joint. Okay, so now turn off polygon. Here we go. And IK handle, oh no, joint, hold V key, oh sorry, wrong one. Here we go. V key, so that it snap to the cluster. Okay. Enter to execute, and use outliner to hold shift click to expand all. Select all, shift, and this time, oops, sorry, that's not the right name. Should be left RD, the name of the red, and BT bottom host JNT. Here we go. I should copy that name. Okay. And I'm gonna reduce to 0.1 for the radius. Now I'm gonna temporarily hide the joint so that I can delete this cluster. Show all. Here we go. And now I'm gonna turn off the polygon again. We're gonna create a spline IK. So I put my spline IK shortcut right there, but this is where it is. For do not parent curve. Click OK. 1 and 2. Here we go. So now show high IK and joy. IK and joy. Here we go. Create cluster. This time we have a 7 again. So we're gonna do the same thing as what we did with the top hose. So all of these 3 will be one cluster, and these 3 will be another one. Press G, and the last one we will do those technique again. G. Okay. Now rename them. Oh, I'm gonna select all, subtract the curve until quicker. And I'm gonna leave the word cluster. Here we go. Okay. So we already know that this has to group it to itself, right? So I'm gonna just control, let me copy that name. Oh, we already copy that name. Select that cluster and group it to itself. If I turn on move to, I will see the group nodes going there. So show joint, and I wanted to snap the pivot point. I press D or V and then snap to that joint, the closest joint to that alphabet. Okay. And we're gonna use that group to a right here. We gotta name it too. So call cluster GP. We're gonna use this group to constrain left and right locator. So create a locator, snap. Oh, here we go. Name it. Gonna leave locator. This one I will call a base locator, and I'm gonna duplicate that. Control D, and then hold V keys, snap to this side, and rename to N. Oh, oops, sorry, right here. N locator, and you get a phase transformation, both of them. Modify phase. Now I'm gonna enable the rigging stuff layer. So we already know that this locator will need to belong to here. So just parent this locator to there. Parent it. Here we go. And now the cluster, this cluster will be a child of that. So shift select, press P, parenting, and change the pivot point. Hold V key, snap to that joint or locator, either way. So now we get to rename this. It went inside. Look at on the outliner. It went inside the base, not base, the all locator underneath of bottom end locator. So expand. I'm gonna copy that name, and I'm gonna put that and add GP on it. Here we go. Now same here. This cluster will belong to that locator. Press P, and Maya just said at preserve position. Now we get to find it. Right, still right there. Here we go. Group, So the pivot point change. Here we go. Okay. So now the only thing left is this guy. Good. Okay. So these we already have a group node on it. So we're gonna constrain it. Okay. So you select the locator, which is the parent, and then use outliner to click on this group and right here. That one. Constrain parent. Constrain. Turn on offset. Everything else same, leave as is. Click apply. I'm gonna leave it on because I'm gonna do another process. Select this side locator, and then select the group, same group node again, and apply. So now this group node has both a weight on base and end locator. So we'll distribute moving 50% inference by those. It looks nicer than we do parenting on this one. Okay. So now these will be a child of the controller. That's all we need. So just parenting. Here we go. So now when I do this, animate, it follow. Here we go. And it will move with the body. Now the only thing we need to do is to skin it. So this is only single object, so select one, shift select the base of the joint, skin, bind skin, same setting again, joint hierarchy, want the whole joint. Closest distance of each joint, that's the distribute weight based on the location of the CV, not allow multiple bind poses. Max inference at 3, bind, and done, basically. So you're gonna do it on your own on the right side. Okay, so now if I turn on 5, let's reference this. I'm gonna put this inside that car, the bottom hose, so I can hide it, right? So now let's hide the rigging stuff. Join is the first priority. There we go. And then now you can region drag. When I mentioned about priority joins mean selection priority. So let me do something quick. If I bring this all back here and I region drag, Maya will select only join within that region, but not anything else, because this is the highest priority. So we select first. So that's why I select join first, so that I will be able to region drag everything else that are not joined, and then I can select all of them. I'm gonna add. So now if I bring everything back here, rotate it, that's what we want. Don't turn too much here. I mean, if you're gonna really animate to make that hose stuck right here on the fenders, so it's mean you can create another locator and put that locator right here, and then you constrain that CV to there instead, so that when this move, it will stop. I mean, you have to constrain a you might need to do 3 constraint to the engine and the body, and 1 point here, but make this 0.25 weight, and then 1% weight here, or 0.5 weight on this side and 0.5 weight on that side, and 1% weight on this locator so that it really pause right there. So that's another technique. We don't have to do that. For this animation, you basically just avoid going too high. That's all. So just do a little limit animation. Just save time for rigging. So like this. Okay. And then go. Let's see how far I could go. I don't want that to detach. So this what you can do though. We can limit. Let's move this back. Rotation to 0. Go to attribute editor and under translate right here. So you have to go to translate node, which is the first tab, and then limit information. Rotate. Go ahead, rotate first and see. Stop when it's hit to that fender, and these are positive values will go to the max. So because max will be positive and negative will be the minimum. So maximum do not go beyond those 23.95 and lock that. Now rotate it reverse until these started to attach. So right there, and that will be the limit. Here we go. Boom. And now you lock. So now one last thing I forgot. That's good that I see I put that 0. I forgot to parent this group node. Okay, the engine. So the curve is already inside there, which is this is already inside, but the left engine is right here. So that need to be a child of the controller engine, just like that. I just middle mouse drag and drop. So now it's a child. So when I select, you will see it look like this, and that's all I can rotate. See, it's locking me. So that's how you limit the rotation or any translate, rotate, and scale right here. So let's do the same thing as this part. I don't want that to attach. Can you see? To detach. So I'm gonna have a little limit. So how about right a little bit over, because we can't do that much at all. So here we go, and lock. So now it can't go. Oh, I didn't turn that lock on yet, so now it can't go farther. Okay, so but I can do this instead. Now in real life it's not correct aerodynamics though, so I'm gonna just do a little bit more and just accept that, unless I have to rebuild a little more surface. But okay, so and then now rotate in, got to be right there. Don't want this to penetrate the body, so right here, locked it, lock. Okay, so and then we are not going to animate anything else except for this rotation. So now I'm gonna lock that, so we can't move this or rotate other angle at all. So now we're done on this. Oh, sir, I almost forget. We gotta get this part too. So I will do it. I will do it another video on the antenna. Okay.